Good morning. So a few years ago, Heineken, the beer company, conducted a social experiment, and it was fascinating. It was a video project that they entitled Worlds Apart. I encourage you to go watch it if you've never seen it before. You can Google it or go on YouTube. Heineken gathered together a bunch of strangers, people who had strongly opposing views on a myriad of subjects. And then they paired them together and asked them to complete a collaborative task. They actually gave them instructions on how to build a piece of furniture, a bar, not surprisingly. And here's the most important part. The two strangers built their bar together before they knew anything about their opposing beliefs. And so they built this bar, and after it was done, after it was constructed, the two people sat down at this bar that they just built, and they were forced to watch a pre-recorded video that all of the various participants had made before they actually started the project. The video in which they described themselves and their own life. So in one video, there was a man who said, I am a climate change activist. And it just so happened that he had been paired with a guy who had said in his own video about himself, climate change is a hoax. I don't believe any of that stuff. And yet these two guys had just built a bar together. They had spent time collaborating and cooperating with each other. And now, after seeing their videos of one another, they kind of looked at each other with a smirk on their face, a little bit embarrassed, actually, of themselves. So there was another video where a man said, he actually said this. He said, women need to get back in the home and have babies. And it just so happened that he was paired with a woman who in her video said, I'm a modern day feminist. And then in another video, there was a man who said, there's no such thing as transgender. You're either male or you're female. And guess what? Guess who his partner was? In her video, she said, I am a transgender mother and wife. And there were other videos as well. So after the project was done, after it was all over, all of the participants were given a choice. They could either leave and just go home, not be part of the project anymore, or they could choose to sit at the bar with the person that they had just built this bar with and have a beer. I mean, it was a Heineken project, after all. Well, very few of the people who were in the project left. Most all of them decided to sit down and have that beer and get to know their partner, their new friend, a little bit better. It was a powerful video to watch. I encourage that you find it. It's a powerful video, and it gave us what I think is sort of tangible evidence of what can happen when people decide to spend time together and talk to one another. Not talk at each other or talk about other people, but actually talk to each other. When we learn to talk to each other, walls are brought down. Interesting, those folks constructed a bar, but in the process, they simultaneously deconstructed a wall. Relationships were started. Unity was established where there had been division before. They didn't agree on everything, of course. In fact, afterward, you can watch a little bit of the video and see that there's still some awkwardness in their conversation, but nobody skipped away all happy. It wasn't like that. But this project showed us that the power of conversation and good communication. And I think in many ways, today's scripture might be really even the very best example in all of the Bible showing the same exact thing happening in real life. This was not a social experiment we saw happening in the scripture today between Jesus and the woman at the well. These were real people who had a real conversation that brought real change to people's lives. There are three significant things that are happening, at least three anyway, that I want to point out that are happening in this scripture today, in this story. The first one is that Jesus is talking to a woman at the well, and the key word there being to a woman. Woman being the key word. Because you see, in those days, Jewish men did not initiate conversations with unknown women. That would have defied the conventions of society of that day. I mean, of course, Jewish men would speak to their wives and to their mothers and daughters and other family members, I'm sure. But it would have been unthinkable, really, for a Jewish man, and a rabbi at that, which is what Jesus was, to just go chat up some strange woman. It didn't happen. In fact, it says in the Mishnah, which is a collection of Jewish oral traditions, it says in the Mishnah this is a quote: "He that talks much with womankind brings evil upon himself." That's the Mishnah that said that, and not me. Let's be clear about that. So Jesus talking to an unknown woman was kind of a big deal. So the second significant detail of the story is this: Jesus is talking to a woman who happens to be a Samaritan. Now, some of you have probably heard preachers over the years talk a little bit about the relationship between the Jews and the Samaritans. And it's true that Jewish people did not associate with Samaritans. I mean, in fact, they had no contact with them whatsoever. Jews and Samaritans had a deeply rooted religious, ethical, historical conflict that went back for centuries. They were enemies with one another. Jews would not only not talk to Samaritans, they wouldn't step foot in Samaria. So the fact that Jesus is even there is kind of remarkable in itself. And now he's initiating a conversation with one of them. Again, breaking all of the norms of the day. And then thirdly, finally, this conversation between Jesus and the woman at the well, it's one of the longest dialogues in all the Bible. One of the most lengthiest conversations between two people in all of Scripture. I mean, obviously there are conversations that go on throughout the Bible, but none of them are this long. It's just a very, very long discussion between the two of them. And we only heard just a small portion of it just a moment ago in the Scripture. Had we read all of it throughout chapter 4, we would, in fact, I told it at 8 o'clock, I just compressed what we heard so that we can get out of here at a reasonable hour this morning. It's a very, very long conversation. It goes on and on. So, Jesus is, number one, talking to someone of the wrong gender, or at least that's what they thought. He's talking to someone from the wrong country. Again, that's what they thought. And then he's talking for a long, a deep, substantive conversation with her. It's very much like that Heineken project I mentioned a minute ago. They too, Jesus and the woman, are building something in the process of their conversation. They're constructing a relationship. And in the process, they're deconstructing generations of hatred and animosity between groups of people. Something, based on what's in the news today, we could all learn a little bit from. And in all of it, they are modeling for us how we could be doing similar things in our own lives today. I'm afraid that all of our advancements, our so-called advancements in communication over the last several years, things going back many years ago with the computer, with email and texting and, Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all the things that are around today. All of these ways of communicating, for many of us, have made us forget the most elemental way of connecting. We've forgotten how to talk to each other. And studies have shown this. Studies have shown that social media might be one of the most successful tools in human history at actually dividing us rather than bringing us together. Meanwhile, Jesus shows us today what unity looks like. He shows us how to break down barriers between people, how to engage with people, even love our enemies. We do it by directly engaging with them. As I said a moment ago, we didn't hear the whole story, the whole conversation or encounter between Jesus and the woman at the well, because it's just so long. To summarize it, Jesus tells the woman everything about her life. He knew everything about her and told her, and she was not proud of some of the things she had done. But he offered her salvation. And he offered salvation to the people of Samaria. And so she goes back to her village and she tells the people that she has met the Lord and they should come and listen to him as well. And so many Samaritans eventually end up following Jesus and believing. In fact, she is, the woman at the well is often considered the first evangelist for Jesus because she went back and told people about them. So think of that. The first evangelist for Christianity was our enemy. And it was all because Jesus broke convention. He was more concerned with the woman and with the people of Samaria and their salvation than he was with maintaining systems of hatred and division. He initiated a conversation with the enemy. He broke religious laws. He did all that because people were most important to him. I like to imagine, I think it's helpful for us to imagine what could happen today if every one of us, everyone who was a follower of Jesus, did the same thing. If we decided to put people ahead of ideology or politics or nation or religion. If we, like Jesus, were willing to kind of cross the border, so to speak, and initiate a conversation with somebody else on the other side of the aisle. Just one person. Not to tell them how wrong they are or to proselytize and try to convert them to my side, but simply to try and build something together, namely to build trust. To construct a connection, a relationship. And in doing so, we will slowly deconstruct the walls that separate God's people, just like Jesus did with the woman at the well. I think if we did that, if we just tried it every now and then, we might be pleasantly surprised to find out that our enemy, so-called, some of them anyway, that our enemies might want the same things that we do. And hey, if it helps, have a Heineken.